Hi guys, what's going on? Mike. Guess what day it is? Hump day. Hi, you guys. How's everybody doing? Let's see who all's in here and say hi to people. Hey, Molson Man. Hey, Cement Shoes. Hey, Tony. Hey, Anaphylaxis Coast Reviews. Nonstop Mom. Did I say hi, Corky? Hi, Corky. I don't know if I. Yes, I said hi to Anaphylaxis. Hello, Faraway Eyes. Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope you guys are doing well. I feel very rusty. It's been a minute since I've been live. I need to come back live. I've been kind of just chilling out, waiting for this Murdaugh trial to start. I'm working on a video that is not. Aw, hey, Jane Doe. Hey, Nonstop Mom. Bless your heart. I hope you're feeling better, babe. I have a video that I'm working on about Stephen Smith, who is the 19-year-old who was found in the middle of the road back in 2015. And I every time I think I'm finished and I'm ready to like put it all together, I find something else, and so this was my whole like thing. I said it in my community post. Hey, Anita Butts. So just while we're waiting for everybody to get in here, and because I know the notifications sometimes are sometimey and all that stuff. Would you do me a favor and give your girl a thumbs up on the stream? I'd appreciate it. Helps me get in the algorithm so that you guys do get the notifications. So anyway, I what I've been noticing is that there's some really good documentaries about the Murdaugh case. One of them is Low Country. That one's on HBO Max. Murder Dynasty. That one is on the ID channel and Discovery Plus. And I know 2020 and 48 Hours. I haven't watched theirs though, did something on the Murdaughs too. Also, Netflix is about to come out with one as well, and I don't know how that one's going to be. But what I noticed from the ones that I watched, the documentaries that I watched, is that Stephen's case, Mallory's case, Gloria's case, Gloria Satterfield, the housekeeper, even though they're talked about, and I have to say, I prefer the HBO one to the ID one. Will be mostly because the HBO one, it's HBO, so there's no like bleeping or anything like that. They didn't have to like edit it for language or anything like that. So it's a little more raw. And they do interview like a wide variety of people from Hampton. So anyway, I felt like their stories are overshadowed by the Murdaugh, the Murdaughs, period. All of them, mostly, um, mostly Alex, but to a large extent, all the Murdaughs, the whole family, like the name or whatever. And so hey, Alex 79. So I wanted to make sure that that when I talk about those cases, that you guys get an overall picture, because I mean, at the end of the day, not Mallory's, her case is going to be remain unfinished, just due to the fact that. Hang on just a second. Give me just a. Sorry. Um, Mallory's case will forever be in limbo because Paul Murdaugh was indicted and was supposed to go to trial. It was the first day of his beginning of the proceedings. I don't even think it was at the trial stage. I think it was just still in pretrial and all that stuff. But he was supposed to go like 3 days um, after the 3 days after he was shot. So yeah, so he was shot 3 days before he was the proceedings were supposed to start. So her case, bless her heart, will always sort of be unresolved in that manner. But with Stephen Smith, um, they reopened his case, but it's not solved. And that kid deserves justice. I mean, when I watch those documentaries and, you know, I always make a joke that, nobody is going to say these kinds of things like that about me, like on 2020 or 48 hours. But this is why I like the HBO one. I liked the HBO one the most because I felt like, obviously, like I said, with you don't have to censor it or whatever. So it was more raw, but everybody had really, really nice, genuine things to say about Stephen. So I wanted to give his story I wanted to present it to you guys in a way that um, sort of honors the way his friends and his family feel about him, but I want also to bring awareness because he deserves justice. So, yeah. So that's why it's taking me a little bit longer. And bless his mom's heart, Sandy, she has been a champion for his case from the get-go. His father died like 3 months after he was found. And it's really been Sandy and his twin sisters that have been keeping his case in the spotlight. Sandy wrote to the FBI. I mean, and she's never like outright, pointed fingers at anybody. But, she's frustrated. And once I started really looking at it, I understand her frustration. There's just a lot of issues with the investigation, the way it was handled, where things were lost. There was chain of custody issues. I mean, it was a nightmare. And she deserves to know what happened to her son. And her son deserves to have justice. Whoever did this should be punished, period. So I'm off my soapbox. Hey, Kate, how you doing, babe? You want to come up? Let me give you the link. No pressure. If you don't want to, you don't have to. So anywho, I have made myself, I have to release it on Saturday. That's it. It's done. So it'll be premiering. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a premiere of the video, and then it'll redirect and we'll have a live chat discussion afterwards. I think that's best. So, oh, you're fine, Kate. I'm not even close to being ready. All right. So then today, all week long, all right, it's been jury selection. And I have to say, I have never personally, I was talking to Dr. B about this, and I guess this happened in the Rittenhouse trial, but I didn't watch that. So I have to say, I've never personally witnessed a jury selection be streamed. Now, obviously, they did not show any of the jurors. I mean, they don't do that, but there was audio. And then, of course, they were referred to by their number, which, keeps anonymity and whatnot. But I thought it was a rather fascinating process, except for, and I got to be honest, the important part where they get down, like they had like 900 people, and then they whittled it down to 120, then they whittled that down today to 80, and then by this afternoon they had the 12 jurors and the alternates, right? But the really nitty gritty questions that they ask, those are the audio for that isn't played. But I mean, they had to dismiss a tremendous amount almost immediately because they had some ties in some way, shape, or form to the Murdaugh family. Like they'd been represented by one of them, or they were a party to a lawsuit. Yeah, so that their roots in that town are extensive, you know. So hey, Heather, whatever. So I found that to be interesting. Um, so I watched that, and then finally today, let me start doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Finally today, they got it down to the 12 jurors and the alternates, and opening statements began. And they were not all that long, and they were had intended to put on a witness today, but the first witness that they were going to put on, it was one of the first officers on the scene, and unfortunately they had some audio issues, so they weren't they weren't able to do that. So they just ended up putting just ending it with the opening statements, and then they um, adjourned for the evening, and everybody will be back there at 9:30 in the morning. Also, if anybody is keeping up with the Alexander Jackson trial, that one is out of Iowa. The verdict came in. They found him guilty on all counts. He will be sentenced March 12th, I think is what they said, if I'm remembering correctly. So there's that. The Mark Jensen trial is still going on. And then in the Idaho 4 case, hold on just a second. I'm having an issue finding what it is that I'm trying to find. In the Idaho 4 case, I know you guys have probably all seen that Brian Kohberger's attorney, where the hell is it? Hold on. Let me just do it this way. Brian Kohberger's attorney, Ann Taylor, had once represented Xana's mom. And then had been assigned, I should say. She was assigned to Xana's mom, Kara. And then she recused herself very recently as her attorney, and handed her over to another attorney. And I'm having a struggle bus today because I can't freaking, here it is. Anyway, she is, so she's got a different attorney, but apparently she will be going live tonight at 10 Eastern on, I think, Banfield, a News Nation. So Banfield, I think, is gonna, I was thinking about streaming it, but then I wasn't sure if I should or not. Not because, like, I know you guys would watch, I would watch too, but I'm like 98% sure that they would shut the stream down if I did. Hey, Vincent's missing here. No worries, Kate, just whenever. So while I get this set up for you guys, I wanted to give you guys another Olivia Chicky Nugget Pot Pie Esquire update. So Monday coming up, Olivia and Elizabeth are going to meet with Olivia's transplant coordinators. And hang on just a second. Okay. And they're going to begin making arrangements for Olivia to have her stem cell transplant done. Now, it's several processes, and we are not sure still. They've been talking a lot about Cincinnati, so I'm not sure whether she'll be having it here or well, it will be here. Will she'll be having it in Texas or whether she'll be having Cincinnati, but she will have to have, and Elizabeth wasn't clear on this, but she'll find out Monday and I'll let you guys know. She will have to have either chemotherapy or radiation before she gets the stem cells. So, and then of course, she'll be on the medication that keeps you from rejecting it, which then makes your immune system non existent. And so, we're all kind of worried about that because we're almost out of cold and flu season, but she'll be in a hospital. She'll have to go from, if they do it in Texas, it's not as big of a deal, but if she has to have it in Cincinnati, she's going to have to fly and, being around people and all that stuff. So, I mean, obviously they would do it after she gets there. It's not like she would take the medicine first, but you carry those germs with you. So it's a concern because once you're exposed, and she's already on some immunosuppressants as it is for her juvenile systemic rheumatoid arthritis. So it's just a little concerning. I'm a little worried, but I'm nervous. But at the end of, I have a feeling that Olivia is meant to do big things. And this is just going to be one of those like tough hurdles that we have to get through and get over. And then it'll be better. So I just wanted to update you guys on that and what's going on with her. So are we ready to hear the opening statements? Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to add it to the stream. And then I'm going to push play.
Instruct you on the law in greater detail at the end of the trial before you retire to consider your verdict. But this is an explanation of the procedure that we will follow.
Also, closed captions are not available. I'm sorry about that.
Happening.
Your Honor,
the defendant is charged with 2 counts of murder.
8:50 p.m.
The verdict form, which he will following that. And I look forward to working, but we will not now proceed to opening statements.
All right, let's go.
State.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. On the evening of June.
I have to tell you guys one more thing before I forget. Also, Law and Crime Network is doing some newfangled camera tricks with the split screen, and then they do the zoom in and then the wide angle, and they don't quite have it smooth yet, so it's a little jarring. Brace yourselves.
June 7th, 2021, at the defendant's property off Moselle Road in Colleton County. His son, Paul Murdaugh, was standing in a small feed room and some kennels they had on the property. About 8:50 p.m., and the defendant over there, Alex Murdaugh, took a 12-shade shotgun and shot him in the shoulder, in the chest and the shoulder with buckshot.
Oh, also, before I forget, and I have to pause every so often too for commentary, obviously, for transformative fair use. Obviously, this is the state. This is the Attorney General. He gives a very impassioned opening statement, but he also gives details. So there's your trigger warning before we go any further. Okay, for reals, here we go.
And the evidence is going to show it was a 1,000,000 to 1 shot. He could have survived that, but after that, another shot went up under his head and did catastrophic damage.
Hey, and 5, 6, 7, 8. Good to see you. The prayers, the good juju, and positive thoughts. We appreciate it, really, we do.
Paul collapsed right outside that feed room. And just moments later, he picked up a .300 Blackout, which is a type of ammunition, but an AR-style rifle, And the evidence is going to show that the family had multiple weapons throughout the property, picked up that .300 Blackout rifle, and opened fire on his wife, Maggie, just feet away near some sheds that used to be a hangar. Pow, pow. 2 shots, abdomen in the leg, and took her down. And after that, there were additional shots, including 2 shots to the head that, again, did catastrophic damage and killed her instantly. The evidence is going to show that neither Paul nor Maggie had any defensive wounds. Neither one of them had any defensive wounds. As if they didn't see a threat coming from their attacker. And the evidence is also going to show that both Maggie and Paul were shot at extremely close range. The evidence is going to show it's called stippling. It's almost like a tattoo, that when you get shot very close to a weapon, it leaves marks that the forensic pathologist can see. They were shot at close range and they did not have defensive wounds. And the evidence is going to show.
Okay, to your point, Corky, I don't know much about body language either. I mean, I do know some things, but I'm not an expert, and I'm certainly not qualified to diagnose or treat anybody. I can't even barely treat myself, let's be honest. Okay. Thank you, Heather, whatever. Welcome to Cookaloo's. So he watch Alec, because he makes some faces during this whole thing. And at first when I first watched it, I thought, oh, it's just a bad angle. Like, Long Crime just caught him from a very bad angle because he looks like he's scowling. But then I kept seeing it back again the second time. He's giving dirty looks. For real. Okay, here we go. I have to pause it every so often. I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, here we go.
Show that the defendant, Alex Murdaugh over there, told anyone who would listen.
Alex Murdaugh over there.
That he was never at those kennels. But the evidence is also going to show from these things that every one of us, most of us carry around in our pockets.
Brace yourselves, y'all.
That he was there.
Now,
he was there just minutes before, with Maggie and Paul, just minutes before their cell phones go silent forever and ever. Despite what he told people, I was never at those kennels, the cell phones are going to show otherwise.
Don't slam that thing back down again like that, unless you got an otter box on that.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Creighton Waters.
Hi.
I'm with the Attorney General's office, and I'll be the lead prosecutor. I introduced myself before. With me is David Fernandez, Savannah Gow, John Metters, Don Zelinka, John Conrad, and Johnny James. A lot of lawyers. This is a big case. It's a very complicated case, and that's why there's so many people working on it.
We appreciate your work.
Back in the row, we have David Owen, who's the lead investigator. We have Lieutenant Charles Gent, who's one of the agents, Special Agent Ryan Kelly, and Special Agent Peter Rudolphy. Some of the agents that are working on the case, as well as Investigator Isaac Toledo, who's working on the case as well. There's some of the witnesses that you'll hear from as we go through this case. The judge talked to you a little bit about him being the judge of the law, and he gives you the law. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the legal concepts before I turn back to those facts. Just remember, though, he's the judge of the law, so you take what he says, but I'm going to explain to you some of the legal issues from my perspective before we talk a little bit more about the evidence in the case.
Okay.
And the first thing is right before you went to lunch, y'all all took an oath.
I ain't taking no oath.
Everybody in this courtroom who's got involvement in this case takes an oath. Attorneys take an oath to become an attorney, take another oath to become a prosecutor, judge takes another oath to become a judge, witnesses take oath on the stands, law enforcement take oaths to become law enforcement.
Is that better? Well. Coolest reviews.
The reason why is that y'all have the most important job in this courtroom. Every one of you raised your hand and said that you would well and truly follow this.
You should have said that.
It's the most important job here.
Smash.
Like the judge said, he's the judge of the law.
Snuffed them out for good.
Y'all are going to listen to what comes from that witness stand and judge those facts. But you also have to be mindful of that oath. That oath requires you to do
What
that
has
hard
happened?
job,
Y'all look
to
at
make that
Alex's
decision, to call the strike when you see
thing.
it.
Hey, oh, Kate,
It's
will
the
you
same
just turn
motive.
your
It's
camera
just
on
as
real quick
important
so I
to me
can
as
see your
a
pretty
strike
face, just
motive
in
as
case
important.
people been monkeying
The
around
judge
like.
mentioned it out, and he's exactly right. It's the state's burden to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. That is
Far
a
away
cornerstone
eyes.
of
Yeah.
our
Oh, hold
country.
on. Let
I
me
wouldn't
push
have it any other
pause.
way. It's a burden to be welcomed.
Yes, far away eyes. The older brother, Buster, is sitting behind his dad. When they said that Buster was in the courtroom, y'all, which I find interesting because um that usually he obviously cannot be a witness. Nobody is intending to call him because they usually don't allow witnesses to sit in. Oh, there's pretty Kate. They don't allow witnesses to sit in when the trial is going on. Hey, baby.
Hey, sorry, I was having mic issues. I just switched rooms in my house.
Oh, did
and,
you?
And my mic wasn't working.
Oh, no.
It's working now, though. I fixed it.
Okay, good. I'm so glad you're here. So, yeah, so that's who that is, Faraway Eyes. Buster. Did I say Butch? I think I did. I meant to say Buster. Buster is Buster and Alex's sister. So Buster sitting with his aunt, which is I believe Alex's older sister. Hey, last breadstick. Let's ask Kate since she's the guest. Kate, do you think he's guilty?
I do.
Me too. I do. I'm just very worried that I don't know if they're going to be able to prove it. Now, I'll say this.
Yeah.
When I was waiting, I don't know if you got to watch this too, Kate, but there was like this long period between opening statements and them picking the jury. There was like, I don't know, like a couple of hours maybe. And so in the interim, Anjanette Levy was on Law and Crime, and she had the whole panel or whatever.
Oh, and the chick from Pretty Lies and Alibis, Gigi, was on there too.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah, the one that was up in the top right corner.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Good for her.
I was like, wow, I'm shocked to see her on there. I didn't know,
I didn't either. Well,
yeah.
I mean, because it's interesting because that, Pretty Lies and Alibis covered the Wagner trial as well.
Yep.
And so did Anjanette Levy. And now look where both of them are out. So good for you, girls. Good for you. But one of the things that I was really surprised about is how little the media knows about the evidence that the state has. I find that this is how it should be. Really. It should be like this. But one thing that they don't have, well, two things that they don't have the guns. And I think that might be a problem later on. It might. I don't know, because they do have an expert who is going to testify about the tool markings and that they've picked up, the shell casing. So it's not the same as having the projectile itself, and it's definitely not as good as having the weapon itself, where you can compare and say this was definitely fired from this firearm, right? They don't have that, but they do. I'm just curious to see how the judge or how the jury is going to weigh all of this.
Yeah, Dick Harpootlian said that they don't. He's confident that they don't have any. Was it forensic? Well, they said they have forensics, but there's nothing that's connecting him directly.
Yeah, they don't have direct evidence. They do not. There's no DNA, which, I mean, let's be honest. Direct evidence, yeah. Which, let's be honest. When somebody is unalived in their own home by allegedly somebody else living in the home, direct evidence is very difficult to come by because your DNA, your hair, all that, your skin cells, all things are going to be there because it's your house. So it kind of makes it complicated.
Not only that, these people were lawyers for, I
mm,
mean, generations. They know, they were prosecutors. You know what I mean? They know what to cover up, and you know what I mean. Like they're a
right.
little more experienced in covering up a crime than,
Well,
well,
they're
at least
also
sounds like it.
right. And I think that they're also the thing about the Murdaughs is and this is one angle that I really wish, and I will go into it because it fascinated me. That I really wish that the documentaries had better explored or further explored is whenever there was a crisis. Um, for example, the boat accident with Mallory Beach, which she was killed, but everybody on that boat was injured. Except Paul wasn't injured that much, but pretty
Yeah.
much everybody else was pretty banged up. Mallory lost her life. But what I noticed about the Murdaugh family is that they go into protect
Family crisis mode.
family crisis. They
Yeah.
close ranks. That's what they do. That's what I was looking for. They close ranks immediately, and then they sort of handle up, and you know they're already 10 steps ahead in the thinking about how the investigation is going, and that nobody's even left the freaking ER. They've barely even been seen in the
Yeah.
ER, and these fools are already thinking down the road 87 steps to the
Yeah.
trial and what
I
potential
feel like
liability.
Grandpa was a good fixer, and then
Indeed,
Alex tried to be, but not so much.
because I think that the grandfather kept his hands a little cleaner than some of the other Murdaugh. And I think
Yeah.
that what I kind of suspect about Alex and Paul is that they're very much alike. Now, I'll say in Alex's defense, he did go through school. Obviously, he did get his law degree. He passed the bar. He was a practicing attorney, but I think some of it, a lot of it probably, he coasted on his father's name. And that's just the truth. That's
Yeah.
just my opinion. That's what I think. And I think that
Uh-huh.
Paul was like that as well. And
Yep.
I think that Alex was looking to take the shortcut, quite frankly. And I think that that is what got him caught up. And I think that depending on how much of his past, particularly the financial crimes, because he still has to face those, right? There's still a trial for that, isn't there? He's got like 100 charges or some crazy ass number.
Yeah, something crazy. He was
Yeah.
indicted like a couple different things, I believe.
So I feel like, um, you know, either way, he's going away. I think that the financial case is a lot stronger than this one,
I do
unfortunately.
too.
And so he's never getting out, right? Because he's likely going to you know, I think he's going to end up being found guilty, but should he not, for whatever reason, I do think he will be found guilty in the financials, and he is facing, I think it's like 100 years or something like that if they find him guilty on everything. So, yeah, so I think it's going to be a minute before he gets out. Although had forgotten, um, and I was it's been a minute since I've like, well, hey Hazel, seen him like live and in person, and I've noticed that he has grown his hair back. See if you look. Let me take this out real
Yeah,
quick.
he
Look,
looks
see, he's bald in this one. Hold on.
he looks more put together than he's looked in a long
Yeah.
time. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
And some people were asking, I saw in Law and Crimes chat today, whether they believed that he was addicted to opioids. Yes. Hey, Alex, good to see you, babe. Whether anybody believes that he was addicted to opioids, yeah, I don't think that's the reason he did any of the shit he did. I think
Oh,
he's
I
just a
think he was,
schmuck.
though.
But I do think he was addicted. Yeah, I do. But I don't think that he was scamming and stealing from his clients to foot his opioid or his opiate addiction. Like he, he he's a freaking lawyer. Okay, surely
Yeah.
he knows a doctor. You know what I mean? To
Oh
write
yeah,
him
he's probably got
legitimate
a bunch of doctors.
prescriptions.
He's
Right,
probably got a bunch of doctors in his pocket, to be honest.
right. He's not getting it off the street. He's not paying street value markup prices. Okay.
Put it this way: there's lots of people who probably owe him favors, and like, you know what I mean. He's
Mhm.
probably, done some free legal stuff for lots of people.
Or giving a doctor a heads up on a potential malpractice lawsuit.
Yep.
Something like, you know what I mean? Yes, Allie, he is the accused attorney. He is indeed, and he has done so many things allegedly. So, all right, let's finish. Let's listen to this. I'm
Oh,
gonna
before you start it, do you think he's guilty with Gloria and do you think they're involved in the Stephen Smith case?
Okay, I'll say this. I'll only talk about Gloria.
Okay.
I think that he is guilty of covering up in Gloria, but no, I don't think he was there. I don't think that he. I think again, I don't think he was hands on with Stephen Smith either.
What about Paul?
Yeah,
in the Gloria case.
Oh, Paul. Oh, yeah. I think but here's the thing. If you have anybody who has dogs,
I agree,
you know, if you have big dogs, you are used to them all the time. I have a big dog, and Nestor doesn't realize that he is a big dog. And his favorite spot to lay is right where he can see everything. So he puts his back to, like, if I'm in here in the bedroom, he puts his back to the bedroom door and he faces his face out towards the living room because he's in the hallway. And that way he can see anybody who is a coming and a going. But he's also older now. And there are sometimes if I go to step over him that he will start to stand up, but I'm used to it now. So he cannot trip me. And I feel like the dogs were, first of all, blame the dogs. I think that's ridiculous. And I notice that she tripped up the stairs is what the 911 call said. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
And this is what I think happened. I think that Paul pushed her. That's the truth.
I do too. I think
that Paul pushed her. And I think with Stephen, you'll have to wait because I have some very, very, I have some thoughts about Stephen. But
Stephen, I'm like a little like on the fence with, just because like his friends and stuff said that there was another guy that he was seeing too. So, but at the same time, their name, like, there's a lot of chit chat in a small town, and
there is
get around. So I'm on the fence about that, but it is shady to me that Randy was so like gung ho to like take that case and be involved.
Like they hadn't even buried him yet.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I think you were right about that.
Was I?
Well,
look at
all
me.
Right, so
sometimes I be remembering
the
shit.
The way that they said it, he was the second call to him. But they like in the one thing I watched, they made it sound like it was like the corner.
Like he was the second call to the
Yeah.
scene rather
Yeah.
than the second person to call Stephen's
Yeah.
father.
Yes.
Yes. See, I kind of had that impression too, but then I read some more things. I went to different places and they really did a good job, like really nailing down the timeline. And so then I realized, okay, now this is making more sense.
Yeah, because like the way they made it sound was like he was
Mhm.
like there.
Like he was there, but he wasn't. He wasn't.
Oh, so Corky, where did you hear that? Because that's what I thought too, that Randy showed up at the scene of his accident. And then I was questioning myself.
Hey, you should have gone to the game. Here's the thing. I think that I can't find anything. And I will say, what is the name of that channel? Not channel. It's they're an online article. You named her the other day, Kate, the one that does that really good at, she did really a lot of investigating, and she fits news.
Mandy.
Yeah. Yeah, but yes, and she does it on fitsnews.com, and I'll give you guys that link. But they have Stephen Smith's case file.
I swore that I heard he showed up to the scene of the accident.
Okay.
But I don't know where I heard it.
That's the thing, is that I cannot find that anywhere, like written down. You know what I mean? Like nobody, it's not in any of the official reports that I've seen.
Paperwork.
Yes.
So I feel like I watched. All right, so Mandy Matney has like a podcast on YouTube, and they she goes through like documents, and I feel like in the one that I was watching, I think it was the Mandy Matney one, where I think she was the one who said that he had showed up at the scene, but I don't remember how she came to that conclusion.
Okay. Well, this is what I'm going to do. I feel like it was implied more in the ID channel one. So, I have time, like before I have to be completely done with this. I have till Saturday, which isn't really all that much time, but it is time. And I need to, if I like make myself behave and manage my time correctly, like a grown up instead of like a toddler, I can get it done, and I'll go back and I will find it, because I know that I heard it, which means
I watched like 10 different documentaries, and I'm kind of all mashing them together in my head.
Yeah. So I think that, there is something, there is scuttlebutt about that. It's just that I can't like pin it down, but I know that I heard it. Well, I can't find where she said that, because the thing is, anything that I saw from Mandy came from Fitz News. So I read it. When Kate and I were talking last night on her live about this, I know I heard it, which means I was watching something, and I haven't watched any of her stuff. So it had to either come from the HBO one or the ID one. Either way, however it happens, I will I'll pin it down. I'll find it, just like I found where I heard that Dylan was in the downstairs bedroom in the first floor. I will find it. You guys know I will, because it'll drive me nuts until
I'm gonna be looking forward to. I'm one of those people. I was like, now I'm gonna go through everything I watch.
Yep, I'll find it. Don't y'all worry. All right, I'm gonna press play on the thing, and I'm gonna step out for just a sec. I need a cig, and I'm going to leave you. Just chill. Just watch. It'll only take me like 5 minutes to have a cigarette.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
What we want is a system that has been well tested and true, and we take that burden to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And I want to remind everyone that the emphasis is on reasonable. Okay, it's not any doubt; it is reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is often defined, and again, listen to the judge how he defines it. But reasonable doubt is a doubt that would cause a reasonable person to hesitate to act. And when you hear the evidence coming from this stand about this particular case, I submit to you, you won't hesitate to act. Again, remember, the emphasis is on reasonable. and reasonable doubt. The judge mentioned the charges, and there are 4 of them. First indictment accuses Alex Murdaugh, to which he's pled not guilty, but it accuses him of murdering Maggie Murdaugh. The second indictment accuses him of murdering Paul Murdaugh. The third indictment accuses him of possessing a firearm during the commission of a violent crime, that being the murder of Maggie Murdaugh. And the last one accuses him of possessing a firearm during the commission of a violent crime, and that being the murder of Paul Murdaugh. And what does that mean? What is murder? Well, the judge again is going to instruct you that it is the unlawful killing of another with malice aforethought. And what is malice? Malice is a mental state. That's ultimately going to be for y'all to determine as to what was going through Alex Murdaugh's mind when he committed these crimes. What is malice? Malice has often been defined as the intentional doing of a wrongful act without just cause or excuse. It is the intent to inflict an injury under circumstances that the law would presume an evil intent. An evil intent. And when you look at the circumstances of the crime, when you look at what led up to this crime, the evidence is going to show that there was malice aforethought. Aforethought, what does that mean? It means it has to exist at the moment you commit that crime. It doesn't have to be planned. It doesn't have to be planned for any long period of time. It just has to exist a split second before the crime is committed. But when you see this crime and you hear all the circumstances, the evidence is going to show that aforethought existed for a while. It existed for a while in the mind of Alex Murdaugh. You're also going to hear about circumstantial evidence. And a lot of times people hear, oh, it's just a circumstantial case. But the law says otherwise. The law says that circumstantial evidence is just as good as direct evidence. And what's the difference between the two? Direct evidence is supposedly about to storm out here, from what I'm told. Direct evidence is if it's sunny outside and a witness goes outside and it's sunny and they come in here and they get on that witness stand, and because they saw it raining, they sit on the stand and said, I was just outside and I saw it rain. I saw it raining. That's direct evidence. They actually saw it raining. But to give you an example of what circumstantial evidence is if the witness goes into a room where all the curtains are drawn, and when they go into that room, it's sunny outside and everything's dry. And while they're in that room, they see it darken behind the shades. They hear thunder. They hear the wind blowing. They hear the sound of raindrops on the roof. And then they open up the door, and it's not raining, but everything is wet. There's puddles in the driveway. There's puddles in the street. There's puddles in the yard. There's limbs down all over the ground. And then they come in here and say, yeah, it was raining. Didn't actually see it raining, but those circumstances are beyond any reasonable doubt that it was actually raining. Now, I guess it's possible that somebody could have been standing outside their window and beating the drum to sound like thunder and blowing a fan to make it seem like it was the wind and somehow got enough water to coat the entire neighborhood. But that's not a reasonable doubt. Everybody understand that distinction? That's not a reasonable doubt. Another thing, and this is crucial, what you're going to do in this particular case, is determine credibility or the believability of witnesses. So it'll be your job to look at the evidence, the exhibits in the case, but also the witnesses, and decide if it's truthful, if you believe it, if you can rely on it. And the judge is going to instruct you that you can believe one witness against many or many witnesses against one. You can believe all the witnesses' testimony or part of the witness's testimony. It's up to you, first individually and then as a product of your deliberations. And what you're required to do there is just to rely on that good old-fashioned common sense. Does it all fit together? Is it corroborated? Does it fit with what you would expect? Does it fit with what you expect how real people would act? Does it seem real? Does something seem a little off? Does something seem a little off? You're going to see video statements of Alex Murdaugh. You're going to see body-worn camera of him at the scene when law enforcement arrives and hear what he says, and hear what he says about that night, you're going to hear 3 recorded statements on video that he gave with law enforcement, and you're going to hear how things progress about what he says and what he says he did that night. Watch those closely. Watch his expressions. Listen to what
Yeah. Let me just say this before I forget. This is the part that I'm super interested in hearing about, is the divorce. Because when you watch the documentaries, you get this sense that it was sort of a rumor, and that one of the lawyers, and it's not any of the lawyers that are representing him in this case. I think it might be an attorney that was representing him is representing him with the financial stuff. I'm not exactly sure because I don't see him, but I could be wrong. Anyway, he said that he challenges anybody to come up with proof that Maggie had visited a divorce attorney, that they were happy, yada, 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 right? So
He also said they went to like a baseball game together, like
yeah,
a week
So-
before it happened.
right. So to me, this is what I find interesting. That is a huge thing to say on something that's going to be that lots of people, including the prosecution team, are going to see. So it's like it's a huge challenge. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very interested to see if the state can, in fact, produce proof that Maggie did go and see a divorce attorney, because the theory basically for their motive basically is that they were about to have to open up the books and
Look into
both
his financials.
get into his financials, both for the civil lawsuit that Mallory's family brought in her estate name, in her name, I guess. And then there's probably going to be some looking into it during Paul's criminal trial. And then because they're going to because there was so much that occurred at in the emergency room with the kids in the hospital, and the Alec, trying to get in there and, tell people what to say, but more importantly, what not to say. Like the thing I found interesting is he pulled such a lawyer move. He never told anybody to lie. He never told any of those kids, "Hey, you say you were driving." What he said was, "Tell them you don't know," which isn't. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Which that's not telling them. It's not feeding them the lie, is what I should say. You know what I mean? Which I find interesting. And I think, well, you should have gone to the game, Chris. Nobody knows about this divorce. It is a rumor. It is a something that floated around. And you know how small towns are. So I'm very, very curious if the prosecution is going to ever produce proof of that.
what he's saying. Listen to what he's not saying. Use that common sense. Does this seem right? Does something seem a little off?
Yeah.
Something seems a little off.
Something seems a little off. I agree with you. Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that Maggie was killed with a 300 blackout rifle, an AR style rifle that chambered in 300 blackout ammunition.
Y'all think it's
You're
a
gonna
rug
hear
he's
evidence
wearing?
that back
It's been
in
bothering me
Christmas
every
of
time, this whole
2016,
time.
Alex Murdaugh over there bought 2 300 blackout AR style rifles. And then not long after that, one
Look
of them
at
went
Corky
missing
coming in with
from
the
Paul's
facts.
truck. And time went by, and in April of 2018, Alex Murdaugh replaced that rifle and bought another one. 3 total blackout rifles that they had. One of them went missing years ago, and a replacement was bought. You're going to hear evidence that Paul and his friend were using that replacement gun. They were standing right outside the side door to the gun room of the house, and they were sighting it in, firing down into a field. And the cases were ejecting. The cases are the empty shell from a bullet, and they were ejecting out into the flower bed right there. And then there's a range across the street, and they shot it there, and there's cases ejected there as well. And they were shooting that third replacement gun just weeks prior to the murders, prior to June 7th, 2021, when Maggie and Paul were murdered. And you're going to hear forensic evidence that the cases that were found in that flower bed and the cases that were found across the street at that range were ejected out of the same weapon that fired all the cases that were around Maggie's dead body.
Oh,
It
boy.
killed her. It was a family weapon that killed Maggie Murdaugh. And you're going to hear evidence that of those 3 blackouts that Alex Murdaugh purchased, when law enforcement arrives at the scene on June 7th, 2021, he can only account for one of them. He can only account for one of them. And that replacement gun is nowhere to be found.
Alec, you got some
You're also going
splaining
to
to
hear
do.
evidence
Okay.
that the type of ammunition, the exact brand, the
Okay.
exact model of
I'll look,
ammunition
Corky.
that was used to kill Maggie, S&B, 300 blackout ammunition, and 147 boxes, empty boxes of that ammunition is found all over the property. The very same brand and model of ammunition that was used to kill her is found at multiple locations throughout the property. And you're also going to hear evidence, the same thing about the shotgun shells that killed Paul.
He
Several
is
double shot
Molson.
unfired
He's
rounds
sitting
found
right
on the
behind him.
property, as well as
Buster is.
Winchester #2 turkey loads, 2 rounds in the shotgun that killed Paul. Family weapon, same ammunition. It's on the property. You're also going to hear evidence that about a week after the murders, Mr. Alex Murdaugh's father had died, Mr. Randolph. And about a week after the murders, he shows up early in the morning at his parents' home, where his mother still is in late-stage Alzheimer's, on Alameda in Hampton. It's uncharacteristic for him to show up early, uncharacteristic for him to show up at all like that. And he comes in, and he's carrying something in a blue tarp, and he takes it upstairs. And eventually law enforcement finds out about that. And they go upstairs, and they find a wadded up, very, very large raincoat in a blue color. Could look like a tarp. And you're going to hear evidence that it was coated with gunshot residue on the inside. On the inside.
I don't understand this part. What are they saying? He wore the
You're gonna hear other
tarp
evidence of
or the
gunshot
poncho thing?
residue. You're going to hear that there was gunshot residue on Alec at the scene. You're going to hear the evidence that there was gunshot residue on the seatbelt of the car he was driving. You're going to hear evidence that when law enforcement got to the scene, he had gone and gotten a shotgun, Paul's shotgun, and that Maggie's DNA was on that shotgun. You're going to hear other evidence from DNA, gunshot residue, firearms examiners. There's going to be a lot of forensic evidence in this case. And I'm not going to get into every single bit of it right now, but I will say
Oh, thank you,
the key
Molson.
piece of forensic evidence that you're going to hear in this case.
If, sir,
This is
please
something.
don't slam that cell phone down again. My heart cannot take it.
Alex's cell phone, Maggie's cell phone, Paul's cell phone.
All the cell phones.
You know, this is all amazing technology that most of us carry around in our pockets. It really allows us to do a lot of things and to get a lot done. But this cell phone keeps track of who we're talking to, who we're calling, who we're texting, whenever we access apps. And every time you do that, there's a record kept in this phone unless it's deleted somehow. And if you're using certain apps, you can even get GPS information where you were when you did that that's stored on these phones. You're going to hear evidence about that. You're going to hear evidence that when you make a call and it pings off the cell
Oh,
phone, it's
duh.
location
Thank you,
information
Hazel.
gather from that as well. And so it allows an investigation to take this and piece together what someone was doing on a particular day, and not only what they were doing, but who they were interacting with and how they were interacting with. This is going to be crucial evidence for you to consider. You're going to hear that particularly Alec and Paul, but also Maggie, were prolific cell phone users, to the point where Paul's friends even had a nickname for him about his cell phone usage. Before I talk more about that, there's 3 family properties I need to talk about. Okay.
All
The
right.
first one I've mentioned is Moselle. Moselle in Colleton County. It's called Moselle. It's off Moselle Road, but everybody refers to it as Moselle. And that property is it's a lot of acres. There's a main house on it, and there's a driveway that goes to that main house. But it used to be an airstrip, and there's an airstrip that goes down, and then down the way, just less than a third of a mile away, just a 3-minute walk, 4-minute walk, 45-second drive, is the kennels and the shed that used to be a hangar where Paul and Maggie were murdered. So the main house is just less than a third of a mile away. You can see the kennels from the main house. You can see the main house from the kennels. The family also had a house in Edisto at the beach. And the evidence is going to show that that is where Maggie preferred to stay, particularly in the summer months. She liked the beach. She was not a hunter. She didn't want to be at Moselle. She didn't want to be at the lodge where it was hot and buggy. She liked being in Edisto. And then you're also, I've already mentioned, the house in Alameda, which is where his parents' home. On June 7th, 2021, you're going to hear evidence that his father went into the hospital and the prognosis was not good. And in fact, he died a few days later. And his mother is in late stage Alzheimer's, and that house being cared for by a caretaker. You're going to hear from that caretaker.
Oh, yes, I have, Molson, many, many times.
We pause for a moment. We'll be at ease in just a moment.
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
I don't know what they're doing, pausing for a moment. Hold on a second. Kate, did you hear about Kara Kernodle doing that interview with Banfield?
Yeah, I just heard about it, that or her mom, because she's upset about Ann Taylor dropping her case and taking Brian Kohberger as a client.
Mm-hmm.
Which I would be mad too. I mean, that's
Well-
my lawyer, and then. But I do think she's like the only one who's able to try a death penalty case or to defend it, like something like that.
Yeah.
And she
Okay, so there are people. There are a few other attorneys who are death penalty qualified, but I think she is by far and the most qualified to handle a death penalty. And if I were Kara, I would be upset too. But like at the same time, isn't she a no-show? Doesn't she have a bench warrant out?
Oh, I have no idea, but I've heard. I've heard.
I'm pretty sure that she has a bench warrant out, and I'm not judging her because look, I don't know how I would handle if something like this happened to one of my kids. I don't know. I really don't, and I'm not.
Yeah,
I
might not show up either.
I probably wouldn't either. Wouldn't either. But I will say this: I don't think that. I don't think that Anne should be. I don't think Anne is saying that she has traded in Xana's mom's case for Brian as if she is trying to climb some type of ladder. She's climbed the ladder. She's made it. She's in charge of the public defender's office. She's running things. She's death penalty qualified. She's gotten her education. She's not some attorney who is starting out, who is, who needs to make a name for themselves. She's made a name for herself. And I don't think that's why she did it. I think that it would be far easier to find a competent attorney to handle her case versus finding a competent attorney to handle his. Because let's say they do end up seeking the death penalty. Should he be found guilty, should he be convicted, and should he receive the death penalty,
You may
he will
proceed.
get automatic appeals. And you don't want those to be successful. And you do
We're talking about
not
three
want
different
a Rule
properties. Moselle
37,
has the
which
main
is an
house,
ineffective assistance of counsel. You don't want
kennels
that, and you
slash
don't want them
sheds.
to be successful with
Maintenance
that.
has a driveway.
So that won't
But the
happen if he's
kennels
got the
also
good,
have a
better
driveway.
lawyer. You know what I mean?
The evidence is going to show that that was actually as commonly used.
Yeah,
as
no, I get what you're saying. I don't fault her for doing it, but I also can understand where Xana's mom's coming from. I guess, you know what I mean? Like, I can see from both sides.
I can too. And hold on a second.
So I think if you lost a child and then you have a lawyer and anyone thinking about defending the person that killed your child would just infuriate me, even if I know it wasn't her fault. So.
Sorry, you guys. He doesn't like to be in here when the door is shut. The airflow is not as good and he gets hot. Old man. Anyway, I feel like I just don't think that I can understand from all sides, right? Like I understand, but I just don't think that people should be raking Ann Taylor over the coals for this. I think we should just
Oh yeah, no, I don't think
you know what I mean. But she's getting tore up over there on the Twitters, y'all. People are not happy about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's her job, you know. I don't think she's doing anything wrong, but I also can understand why Xana's mom would be upset.
And you know what? I can say this: I would bet that she actually doesn't want to represent Brian Kohberger. However, I think that it might cause more problems down the road for her to have dropped his case versus the mom's case. Do you know what I mean? That might have been an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was walking away to let Nestor out and I realized, cement shoes, that my headphones won't go that far. So I had to just take the earbuds out and just yell from across the room. Because I should have just muted my mic like a professional.
That you're going to hear evidence that Maggie did not like. That on June 7th.
Oh, look what Bowling for Cotton Balls said. That makes sense.
Moselle.
I mean, that makes sense.
And the evidence is going to show that she arrived about 8:15. And the evidence is going to show that from the cell phone.
I don't know if Alice is going to make an appearance tonight. She's over there on the bed, out like a little light, snug as a bug. It's raining here. She might show up. We'll see.
Similar stomach contents indicating that they recently shared a meal together. About 8:30, but 15 minutes after they arrived, Paul's phone starts moving towards the kennels. You're going to hear evidence again that the defendant said he was never at those kennels, that he was napping after they ate, and he was at the main house and never went there. You're also going to hear evidence about how much Alec used his own cell phone, and it would be unusual for him to be anywhere without his cell phone.
Alice is the cat, Anaphylaxis. She is the mascot for the Ward case studies. She's a tuxedo cat, and she's spicy. She's one of the emojis. You're a member, Anna. You can. I don't think I can use it because I'm not a member.
You're going to hear from this friend because his friend's
dog
was in the kennels and they thought there was something wrong with the tape. And Paul was recording a video of it to send to his friend. 8:44 and 55 seconds. And on that video, And you'll see that video.
Oh, she's a little terror when she
You'll
doesn't
hear
get
from
her way all the
witnesses
days.
that identify Paul's voice,
Coolest.
Maggie's voice, and Alex's voice.
Here, I put her little emoji in the
Anyone who would listen,
in
he
the
was
chat.
never there. At 8:44, in 55 seconds.
There's something different about them tuxedo
The
cats,
evidence
man.
will show that he was there. He was at the murder scene with the two victims. And more than that, just over 3 minutes later, 8:49 and 1 second, Paul's phone locks forever. He never reads another text. He never sends another text. He doesn't answer calls. 3 minutes after that video has the defendant at the murder scene with the two victims, Paul's flip phone goes silent forever. And in fact, another communication comes into the very friend that he was talking to, the dog, at 8:49 and 35 seconds, just 35 seconds later, and he doesn't answer. He never answers another thing forever and ever. And on top of that, Maggie's phone locks at 8:49 and 31 seconds, around that same time, and she never answers another text, never sends another text, never makes another phone call, never receives another phone call. 3 minutes,
No,
ladies and gentlemen.
he said his phone.
3 minutes after a video shows he's at the scene with the victims, and he told everybody he was never there. Never there. Credibility, ladies and gentlemen. Credibility.
Indeed, credibility.
So what happens after that? Well,
Well,
you'll
tell
hear
us.
evidence that Alex's phone was conspicuously, he didn't have a lot of activity from
Oh,
about
thank you, Left-Handed
8:09
RN.
p.m.
Welcome. Good to
until
see
9:02
you.
p.m. And if he was at the kennels, which the evidence will show, why is his phone not with him? Why is it not showing activity?
Did he pull a Koberger and
But
turn
you
that
will
shit
hear
off?
that at 9:02, all of a sudden his phone does start to pick up activity. At 9:02, he calls, he starts moving. At 9:04, he calls Maggie's phone. Doesn't answer, of course. Doesn't answer. He calls
No
his father,
problem,
Randall,
Wilson.
who's in the hospital. Doesn't appear there's an answer there. He calls Maggie again at 9:06. Remember, he's just a third of a mile away. You can see it. At 9:06, she doesn't answer. At 9:06,
He's making me real nervous with that
he
phone,
turns on
y'all.
his car, his Suburban, and he texts
I feel like he's gonna
Maggie
chunk
that
it
he's going, be
on
right back. I'm
accident.
gonna
Like
go
he's
check on
gonna do
Mom.
some kind of something, and
It
it's
does
just
look
gonna
like
go
that.
flying. I'm very worried. I
And he
think all
doesn't
y'all
drive
should be
down to the
ducking
kennels,
in
even though
that
that's where the
courtroom.
mailbox is. That's a common place to be, even though you can see it. He's called his wife 2 times and texted her, and she hasn't responded. But he didn't just drive down there and say, hey, I'm heading. You guys want to go?
Could have
What's up?
done all that.
Right there. You can see it. He then drives to Alameda, where his mom is suffering from Alzheimer's, and the caretaker is there. And he starts calling people. He's talking to people. It'll be up to you to decide whether or not he's trying to manufacture an alibi.
Why don't I'm not worried for the
comes,
phone.
gets
I'm
there
worried
to
for the
Alameda.
people in the audience there. I think they
You'll hear
finna take
evidence
a
about
phone
whether
to
or
the
not that
head.
was usual. You'll hear evidence about how he was acting when he got there. And he's only there for 20 minutes because he's back underway at 9:44.
Yeah, why did he go see his mom for 20
He
minutes?
makes more
That's
phone calls on the way back.
interesting to me too. It was like a
Calling friends,
quickie.
calling people who will answer.
Yeah, it's weird.
It'll be up to you to decide whether he's trying to create an alibi. And he gets back.
Seems like if it was just to
10:01.
check on her or see how she was doing, he could have just
Calls
spoke to her
911.
caretaker. You know what I mean?
10:06.
He wasn't trying to spend time with her.
Listen to that 911 call. Listen to what he says.
Oh,
Listen to
why?
what explanations he may offer. You're going to hear that 911 call, but you're also going to see the body-worn camera of the officers who arrived at the scene. The video camera they wear.
We are
so
sometimes
of course, what they're
kookaloos. Faux show.
doing. And you're going to see what he did to Maggie and Paul. It's going to be gruesome. There's no other way around it.
I think he was creating an alibi, Molson. I don't believe a dadgum thing that comes out of his mouth. You can't trust
Crime scene
somebody who's a
photographs.
thief.
You're going to see the traumatic injuries that were suffered.
And they were
From
bad.
A pathologist, a doctor who will examine the injuries. It's going to be gruesome.
Yeah, the injuries to
No
Paul
other way around.
were awful. That kid was dadgum near decapitated from the inside
On
because of the buckshot.
that 911 call, and on
Oh, my South is
body-worn
really coming out
cameras,
tonight since I've been listening
pay
to this.
attention to what he says. Look
These
at how he's
people from
acting.
Charleston, South
He
Carolina.
says within a few
Hampton.
minutes of each one of those, he says, "This is about the boat case. This is about the boat case." And you're going to hear some of what was going on in Alex Murdaugh's life leading up to that day. Stuff that happened that very day, stuff that was
You
leading
show
up.
right, Molson,
Perfect
man.
storm
You're going to
that
have
was
to come
gathering.
up here during this testimony and
The storms that are
come
coming
on panel
outside.
and talk about it.
Listen for that evidence.
It is, Anna,
Listen to
especially
that
up close.
gathering storm that all came to a head on June 7th, 2021, the day the evidence will show he killed Maggie and Paul. This has been a long, exhaustive investigation. And it's going to be a fairly long trial because it's complicated.
I do
It's a
declare.
journey. There's a lot of aspects to this case. There's a lot of factors to this case.
Who's moving around back
Life,
there? Take your
a lot of things
seat.
that are complicated.
Uh-oh.
You start to put them all together.
They're
piece
telling
them together like a
secrets.
puzzle. All of a sudden, the picture emerges, and it's really simple. It's really simple.
Please put that phone down, sir. You're still making me
Once we
very
get to the end of that
nervous.
journey,
Yikes, he just throws
You have
that
a
thing
chance to
around like it
deliberate.
ain't nothing.
the evidence is going to be such that you're going to reach the inescapable conclusion that Alec murdered Maggie and Paul, that he was the storm, that the storm was coming for them. And the storm arrived on June 7th, 2021, just like the storms that are heading here right now, that they died as a result, beyond any reasonable doubt.
All right. Well, that was his best Matlock moment. Well done, sir. All right, defense, you're up.
For the defense.
Please, Court, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Dick Harpootlian. I think I introduced myself to you all in our...
I'm never going to be able to pronounce that last name. Sup, Dick?
Philip Barber, Margaret Fox. It is our honor to represent Alex Murdaugh.
Oh, sweet Jesus. I forgot he started out like this, y'all. I'm sorry.
I say it's our honor because I submit to you what you have heard from the Attorney General as facts are not.
Who's yelling at you,
They're
Heather?
his theories, his
Hey, Police
conjecture.
Reviews, what's up?
Now stand up.
Oh,
This is Alex
sweet
Murdaugh.
Jesus.
And Alec was the loving father of Paul,
This must have
The
been when
loving
my
husband.
daughter called.
Maggie. You're not going to hear a single witness say that their relationship, Maggie and Alex's relationship, were anything other than loving.
Can he sit down
You're going to hear
now?
about how they went to a baseball game the weekend before. You're going to hear
Hold
about
on a
their
minute.
relationship. You're going to
I
see
got to
texts
pause
and
for this.
emails.
Poppycock here. Let me just say this, sir. And Alex, come on now. I know you've been disbarred and you can't never practice law in the great state of South Carolina ever again. But you know how this game is played. You standing up looking like the damn hunchback from the bell tower over there, just a glaring at folks. He's over here introducing you to the people who are going to decide your fate. You think you could put on a less menacing face? Like, you're really just mean mugging these people. That's too damn much. I can't. What you got to say, Kate? You're awful quiet over there. Are you just as shook about this bullshit as I am?
I was reading something and I got lost in my
In
thoughts for a
reading?
second. Yeah.
You got lost in being literate.
Yeah.
I bore my guests. Isn't that nice? All right, here we go.
Indicating
Sit down,
a loving
Alex.
relationship.
Yeah, sit down. You out here looking like a whole menace
Paul,
to
the
society.
apple of his eye. You're going to see a video somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock the night of the murder.
Oh, Paul was the
Paul
apple of his
and
eye.
Alec riding around looking at some trees they planted. It's a Snapchat that Paul sent to other people because the trees were not planted very well. They were cantilevering over. They're laughing. They're having a good time. That would be about an hour before the Attorney General says he swatted them. When I say he swatted them, when they were swatted, and no question.
Amen, Vincent.
Paul Murdaugh was shot twice with buckshot, 12-gauge buckshot, once in the chest. And by the way,
I
that
think
shot
he's a
would
self-harm
indicate
risk,
it was
Heather.
in the
Maybe
chest
that's why they don't give him a
and came
time.
out under his arm,
You know, he pulls
like
some
somebody that might have been
shenanigans.
holding up their hands. So when he says no defensive wounds, he perhaps was being held at shotgun. I mean, I can make the same sort of speculation that the Attorney General can, because that's all he's doing is speculating. What we do know is 12-gauge, fairly close range shot to the chest. He must have been turned because it comes out under his arm. There's wadding, if you're familiar with a shotgun, under his arm. The second shot ended up, and there's going to be some question about the direction of that shot, but ended up entering his skull cavity, and the gases from that shot literally exploded his head like a watermelon hit with a sledgehammer. All that was left was the front of his face. Everything else was gone. His brain exploded out of his head, hit the ceiling in the shed, and dropped to his feet. Horrendous, horrible, butchering. So to find Alex Murdaugh guilty
That's
of
your
murdering
trigger warning, y'all.
his son, you're going to have to accept that within an hour of having a extraordinarily bonding, you can see it in the Snapchat, that he executes him in a brutal fashion.
I can't figure out how he's paying
Not
for
believable.
this, to be honest with you, Bowling, because he's got them
Not
financial things. So I don't know if they froze his
Now,
assets.
Maggie is shot running. There's no defensive wounds because she's shot running, and after she falls to the ground and has one bullet that has hit her and probably traveled up and hit her brain, she's on the ground, and whoever the perpetrator was walked up,
Oh, look, he's trying to
took
look
that
sad.
AR and put one in the back of her head. Executed.
Hey, Diane Marie, good to see
Executed.
you. Welcome.
Why? This is going to be interesting because we don't know why. He doesn't know why. He's got theories of this and theories of that, but
Hey,
why?
Wiz, good to see you.
one.
Welcome.
Number two,
This
what
whole
was it
opening
in that
statement's a big
hour
number two.
between when he's yucking it up with Paul? And let me say this to you. His record, he was interviewed
Look at
he
him
comes
dabbing
home
his stop
and
it.
finds, there's no question about this. They got telemetry from his car. He left the house at 9:06, returns at 10:01 after seeing his mother who has dementia. Now remember, that day, his father, who is dying, is taken to the hospital. Mom's
We're
home
gonna
alone.
have to come up with some
the
bingo for
housekeeper.
this one. I
Perfectly
feel
reasonable for him to
sure
wanna go
that
see
this
it.
is going to be one of them.
and later than usual because his father's not there. He's in the hospital. He dies 2 days later. His father dies 2 days later.
I mean, I am sorry that his father passed away.
So
like,
the
they
question
didn't do
is,
anything. Well,
if he leaves at 9:06 and he's back at 10:01, he literally, I mean, and he can account, the cars and the cell phone records account for where he was between 9:06 and 10:01. Now, the cell phone records, and you're going to hear this from their own experts, are incomplete. They're incomplete. And we're to submit one of the reasons they're incomplete. And by the way, how do they find Maggie's phone? Maggie's phone was thrown out on the side of the road about a quarter of a mile away from, a little bit more, maybe a half a mile, from the Moselle property, thrown out on the side of the road. They found it by using Find My iPhone. And the way they did that, they had to open it or have access. Who gave them the code to open the phone?
okay, let's not play.
No,
He
hold
had
on.
to give up some stuff, so
Right.
he looks as
And
if
it's not
he's
destroyed, it's just thrown
cooperating.
on the side of the phone.
Jeez.
It's
But you're
weird
also
that
gonna see
Maggie's phone
is that
was
Alex
off
Murdaugh was
and
calling
Paul
that
still
phone.
had his though. Maybe you couldn't find Paul's. I don't know.
This is what I kind of think. Just from that very graphic description and from what I understand, that's pretty accurate what he said. I would think that he didn't really want to mess too much with Paul's body, as it were, trying to maybe not get anything, you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm trying to go with this?
Yeah.
Trying to avoid, yeah. I don't think he could really move him around too much looking for his phone.
Yeah. Without
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think that Miss Maggie, bless her heart, I think she was easier. And I think he did it for the exact reason that makes sense, that he wants to make it appear as if it is something that it is not. I mean, he knows as an attorney. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, he was a personal injury attorney. All right. So, but I mean, he is an attorney. He would have a cursory knowledge of criminal law. Okay. Even if he wasn't practicing it. So he knows that, and I don't practice law. I've never even gone to any type of law school at all, ever. Just all I know is based on shit that I've learned over the years watching stuff like this. But he had to know that the odds are, the fact of the matter is, it is his property, it's his home, it is his wife and his son, and he is the person who found the body. Those are, you got to overcome that, because that that's statistically the first person who is suspected. So I think an effort into start to get the suspicion off of him is why the phone was chunked. That's a long way to go to say something so simple.
At 9:06.
Oh, 9:06. Okay. All right.
As he leaves the house, he did call her twice and texted her. And we also know that at 9:06,
I agree, Molson.
as he cranks his car, as the cell phone records show that, as the telemetry data shows the cell phone linking up with the car, that phone is being thrown on the side of the road almost a half a mile away. Now that is Houdini. That is magic. That is inexplicable. Now, I was making notes while the Attorney General was talking. But let me tell you what is more believable.
Okay. Let's hear your theory.
The night he comes home and finds his wife and son butchered. And when I say butchered, you're going to see these photographs. When I see them now, after having seen them for the last 4 or 5 months, it still shocks me. It still is tough to look at. It still bothers me.
All right.
And he comes home and finds his son laying in his own blood with his brain laying at his feet.
Oh my gosh.
Shot to hell. He walks over.
Is he
checks
crying,
to see
Kate?
if
Is that what this fool's doing?
there's any life there, although I mean,
Looks
seeing
like
his
it.
brain laying out outside
Oh
his body. He
yeah,
knows
it's
this.
not enough to just
He
sob.
goes
He's
over and tries to
gotta,
get a pulse out of
he
Maggie.
can't cry quietly
pulse
with
there.
I
baby.
think he's
911.
making himself
I want you to
bounce
hear
a
that
little bit
911.
Yeah,
too.
like the.
It is a man
You know, when your
hysterical,
kid
in
gets
grief,
real upset and they do that.
trying
Yeah.
to figure out what's going on. And he tells
Don't be trying
the
to
911
emotionally
operator
manipulate us over here at the ward,
that he's
Mr. Murdaugh.
concerned,
You
and
can't
he
be
drives
fooled.
back up to the house. And by the way, you can't see, I've been out there, you can't see the shed where you might see the top of the shed. There are pine trees between the front porch or the porch on the house and the dog pens. And it's not a third of a mile, maybe by the way the crow flies, but it takes a little bit longer to drive down there. And this is not unusual for them to communicate by cell phone or text, even when they're all on the same property. It's 1,100 acres, big property. They hunted. So what I'm trying to say to you is,
Yeah, what are you
that
trying to say? Let's get
the
to
Attorney
it.
General has
You're-
given you his view. And again, you can't see the shed. And I'm going to ask the judge at some point during this trial to ask you, the jury, to be able to go to the scene so you can see it. You can understand the proportions.
Can you take the
You can
audience,
understand the details.
the viewing audience with you? Because I'd like to see this
Because the
place too.
facts are what matter here. The facts. Let me give you another fact.
Okay.
You're going to hear their witnesses explain the catastrophic injuries to Paul. That his head literally exploded. And whoever shot him with that shotgun was probably no more than 3 feet away. Maybe closer, maybe a little further away. His head exploded. You would be covered in blood from head to foot. Head to foot. In blood. They seized his clothes that night. SLED did. And they well, first of all, you're going to see in the videos from the officers that arrived that night, there's no blood on him. They didn't find any blood on him. SLED's testing indicated 12 different places on his shirt and pants. No human blood detected. Period. Okay? You'll see pictures. A white t-shirt, no blood on it. Those are facts. Those aren't theories. Those are facts. Another fact that is, I think, the reason we're here today.
Okay.
When you hear those questions on the videotape on the night, now he's found his wife and son brutally butchered. You can hear on the 911 tape, he is hysterical. He comes in and out. It's consistent. If any of you have ever, you got to use your experience as part of this deliberation process. Your human experience. Who's ever suffered the catastrophic loss of a friend or a family member? It's numbing. It's the minute you find out, or if you see them dead, it's numbing. You go into shock. So anything he said that night.
So which is it? You go
in
into
the
shock or
context of
you're
just
hysterical?
An hour or two before
just
finding
can't- I
his
mean-
wife and son butchered. He drove back up to the
Or the
house
shock
on
causes
911
you to
saying,
be
I got to get a gun.
hysterical?
Whoever did this might be out there. And he gets a gun. What's
Oh.
fascinating about that is he gets a 12 gauge shotgun.
Fascinating.
shells.
Ain't that some fascinating ass shit?
People hunt a lot. They have guns everywhere. He grabs some shells. He puts a 16 gauge, a 12 gauge, grabbed a 12 gauge shotgun, put a 12 gauge buckshot in, and then he put a 16 gauge buckshot in. That's how shook up he was. Guy hunted all his life, and he put a shell in that he couldn't fire a 16 gauge from a 12 gauge. Makes no sense. He was traumatized.
Well, see, there you go.
GSR,
Cookie. I
their
have-
own expert at SLED said the amount of particles of GSR are consistent
you
with that,
go.
him going up and picking that shotgun up. They want to talk about GSR? Again, if you fired a shotgun
That's my
twice
point.
and a
Rolling
rifle
with cotton balls.
6 times, you'd be covered in GSR. Those are the facts. That's not his theory. The facts.
Okay.
Now let's talk a little bit about these ARs. Again, you're going to hear testimony. A lot of guns. They had a gun room.
Yeah, I'm not
I
swayed
don't
by
believe
the
in
guns. I'm
talking
from
about
the
evidence.
South. I don't really give a
Downtown
shit. So
Columbia.
get on with it.
Ain't no gun rooms in downtown Columbia. But apparently if you live on 1,100 acres and you hunt deer, and you hunt whatever they were planting those sunflowers for, quail, I guess. Not a big number. You have a lot of guns. The
Dick
truth
ain't a
is,
hunter,
in
y'all.
2017, and you'll hear the testimony, that Alec bought 2 black ops, one for Paul and one for Buster, his other son who's sitting out in the audience. And
This would be the time
Paul
to pan over
had
to
once
Buster
just
Lawn
stolen.
Crime. What you doing?
he bought another one for Paul. Now, Paul was very
They didn't really do a
irresponsible.
good job at panning in on anyone.
Guns,
No, they didn't.
Right,
But you
Alex.
know,
cars.
I will say
He'd leave
this.
guns
There's been
around,
a
he'd
few
leave guns
times
in
when I've
cars.
made some comments
He
about
oftentimes left
microphone
guns
issues and
down
camera
at the
issues
dog pens.
on a stream, and then
in
the
the
next
feed
day they seem to be
Now,
fixed. So
I can't tell you whether he was shot
I
with his
low
own
key
weapon
think
or
that
not,
somebody
or his
from
mom
Lawn
was shot
Crime
with
is
his
over
weapon
here
or not.
watching your girl,
But I
taking
can
notes
tell you
and suggestions
weren't
that I put
shot.
in the suggestion box. It's
I
probably
liked
just
don't
how
have
they
coincidence.
filmed Johnny
There's no way
Depp's
to tell.
trial.
Conclusively
I
Like,
did
without having
too.
weapons.
I wish
What
they
weapons
would do
those
that
are,
with
Ryan?
here. I don't know how the
Well,
setup
we'll
looks,
sweat
but I
equity
wish
about
they would do something similar with like that.
The sort of overarching
Yes.
issue here is why
Because you got to see like
murder
the
June
person
7th,
on the stand and the interaction
2021,
with the
why is it
lawyer.
September of
Like, you
Yes.
have to see everything, you know.
And I will tell you what happened that night. And this is a problem.
Okay, tell us what the
He's
problem
he's
is. Dick.
questioned, and the questioning is pretty aggressive. You'll hear it. He's traumatized. They suspect him. They show up. He's got a shotgun. They suspect him, and the next morning, 2 people found butchered, here in Colleton County, Moselle Road. The police announced, "Don't worry. There's no danger to y'all. There's nobody out there that could pose a danger to you." Because you see, they decided that night he did it. Without forensics, without cell phones, without any of that. And they've been pounding that square peg in the round hole for the last, since June of 2021, resulting in charges in September of 22.
I don't even
And
know
so,
what that has
If
nothing.
he felt, and he did, and you'll hear it, the accusatory
Such a
fashion
weird
he's being interviewed in,
segue.
he may not have dealt all the facts. But by the way,
Oh,
whether
by the
he'd been
way.
down to the dog pens that night or not, really didn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay, why not?
Really doesn't matter. Because
Okay.
you're
How
going
the
to see
hell
cell
does
phone
that not
activity
matter?
that would be,
Dick, I'm not following you here,
let me
sir.
put it to you this way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Paul's
lost
phone,
me there.
850.
You lost me about an
Maggie's
eighth of a
phone,
mile
later
down the
than that,
road, sir,
854,
before we even
clearly,
got to the dog
Is
pens.
still being used. At 9:06, he's up at the house getting in the car, cranking it up.
I love his
To drive over and
measurements.
see
So
his
it's
mom.
like 2/10 of a mile, an
He
eighth
says-
of a mile.
A few hundred
That
yards
I-
away,
that
it's
I
a
can
bit
get
further
on
than that.
board
But the
with.
point of the matter is, he would have had to have executed both of
Are
them.
you trying to work out this crime right in front of this
Got
jury?
back
You're
up to
doing
the
a
house.
terrible job, sir. Don't. Just
Got
stop
the
there.
bloody clothes off.
Mm.
And by the way, they seized his clothes from that night. They've never searched his house for any other clothes that we know of. Although that night, he gave permission and they got a search warrant. Go to my house. Go look through everything. Where are the bloody clothes? Where are the bloody clothes? And of course, I would tell you that they've woven this story together because they want everything to be consistent. What's important about that is the judge, and by the way, there's no eyewitness. There's no forensics tying him to the murder. When I say forensics, fingerprints, blood, whatever, tying him to shooting anybody that night. The cell phone records would indicate he would have had less than 10 minutes to kill him, get up to the house, get in the car and crank it up. He'd be covered in blood.
Hey, Angry Mimi. That's what I
Now,
was thinking. Vincent's
if they think he was
missing here.
beginning to
Like, is
establish
he
an
out there
alibi,
with that little Z-bar looking thing and
There's no
turning that
evidence of
shit?
The
What is
evidence
going
is
on
consistent
here?
with him seeing them earlier at the dog pen. And by the way, that audio they have of him and Maggie, they're talking about one of the dogs killing a chicken. They
Okay.
were debating whether it was a guinea hen or a chicken. No animosity. Very normal discussion. Paul's very happy. We know that Paul, after that, is texting back and forth with the girl about going to.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, counselor. If you're going to set somebody up to unalive them, would you show animosity to them as you're trying to lure them to where they're inevitably going to be unalived? I wouldn't. And I don't
Hell
think
no.
most people would either. So stop playing like we just all fell off the fucking turnip truck yesterday. Stop
In the
it.
movies. Nobody's down there threatening him. Daddy's not pulling out a shotgun and killing him. For, 10 minutes after that, he's texting this girl.
What is...
So, big question. One shooter or two? Two guns, shotgun and an AR. And by the way, Maggie has no defensive wounds because she's running. What's she running from?
Probably from the person aiming the
And could
freaking
you
firearm at her.
Shoot. Typically, she had a little shed right, probably 150 feet from the feed room on the other side of a wall.
Uh-huh.
Perhaps she heard the shotgun blast and came around and saw somebody or two people, and whoever it was opened up.
Yeah, that might
Was there
have
enough
messed.
time
He just stumbled
to
right there,
kill
or two
Paul?
people. Hell, why not make it three?
And then find the AR and then ambush Maggie? Much more
Thank
likely
you,
it was two
Hazel.
people. But again, we don't have to prove anything.
Right. So you should probably shut up now because you're
Let me
making
sort
it
of share
worse.
the
I'm
framework in which
already.
you should examine this.
I already think he's 3% more guilty than I did when I walked into
You have
here.
agreed to follow the law. And here's the law. Here is the law.
All right, tell me the law.
He didn't do it.
Well, that's not a
He is
law.
presumed
That's
innocent.
the law. There
As
you
you
go.
sit there right now, when you look at him, you have to believe he is innocent. He didn't do it. Now, let me tell you.
I can't with
that's
this guy,
so
Molson, man. Don't y'all. If I ever get in trouble, don't hire Dick
difficult
here.
to do.
Don't
I get
retain
it.
him. No, thank you.
And the way maybe the best way to explain it is this.
Yeah.
This morning or yesterday, nobody really
There's
reads
Alice.
newspapers
Hi,
anymore.
baby.
But if you're reading the newspaper, looking at the internet, and you read the police had arrested somebody for some heinous crime, the natural inclination of everybody, all of y'all, is to
Not
say,
me.
thank God they caught him.
My natural inclination is wonder if he
Thank
did it.
God that person is in custody. And you did something
I
that's
don't
so
get hitting
natural.
the microphone with your tail.
We all
says.
do it. You presumed the police had arrested the person that committed the crime. You presumed him
Thank you,
or her
Molson.
guilty. That is the natural thing to do.
I appreciate
And
it.
you know what? That's fine for you to do. Any
No.
other day except today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there
Because
you
you
go.
took an
Don't be
oath
encouraging
to follow the
them.
law. And the law is he is innocent. He's
No.
presumed
There you go.
innocent.
The law is
That is
not
your
that
presumption.
he is
Your
innocent. He has
mental
a
framework
presumption of
is
innocence.
he didn't do it. They've got to prove it to me beyond a reasonable doubt.
That is a sharp
Now,
tie
what's
you're
even
wearing
more
there, though,
difficult,
Dick. I do like
and this
that
isn't a
color.
contest, this isn't a
It's a little
game,
bright
this isn't
for
who wins
for
and who loses.
January, almost February, though.
I
This is
like the
about
color
justice.
though. I do too.
I
You
do
know,
too. It looks
Oliver
more like
Wendell
an
Holmes, one of the
Easter tie.
justices of the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
once
It's giving me
said,
them still
"Jury duty is the
magnolias,
highest duty
Easter bunny
a
thingy
citizen can
feel.
perform for their country
Mhm.
in peacetime."
We're just to the
Because
opening
you
opening
Are
sentences, Quirky.
protecting
Oh
us
yeah, he already had him. He already had him stand
From
up.
that.
That was at the beginning
from
when
the
he
state,
mean
from
mugged
the
the whole
government.
jury.
That's the foundation of our Constitution is that the individual has the
Oh,
right to be presumed innocent,
congratulations!
has
They
the
really
right to a
mean.
jury trial, has a right to have his or her peers sit in judgment of them. That's you. And the framework is
Hold on,
you
let me
presume him
push
innocent.
pause.
And you don't.
Technically, his peers would be a bunch of lawyers and bankers. Unfortunately, they were in cahoots with him, so they can't take part in the jury process. But continue.
Cannot convict him until the state proves to you beyond a reasonable doubt of his guilt. And a reasonable doubt is the kind of doubt which would cause an ordinary person to hesitate to act in the more important
Hey,
decisions.
stop
in their life.
headbutting me, Alice. That's just you didn't
Now, what
interrupt,
makes this
honey.
even
No,
more
we're
complicated
glad.
Because
Congratulations.
there's no direct evidence. There's no eyewitness. There's no camera. There's no fingerprints. There's no forensics tying him to the crime.
Uh-huh.
None. None. I say that without any fear of contradiction whatsoever. None.
Okay.
And what the judge is going to tell you is, to the extent the state relies on circumstantial evidence, the circumstances must be consistent with each other, and when taken together, point conclusively to the guilt of the accused beyond a reasonable doubt. If these circumstances merely portray the defendant's behavior as suspicious, the proof has failed. Now, this smoke they've created
I take naps and call
is
them
about
memes.
suspicion. I mean, if you show up at the scene and you got the wife, and well, the wife especially dead, and the guy's got a shotgun, you know, it's pretty logical for the cops to jump to a conclusion. He did it. And the problem is that as they came to that conclusion, they have pounded that square peg in the round hole, and you're going to hear about it. They've ignored some witnesses. I mean, for instance, that blue
Okay.
tarp with the
Here we go.
showed up with a blue tarp.
Here we go. All right.
That witness who said he showed up with a blue tarp was shown a blue rain jacket that he talked about. Said, that's not it. That's not what he brought here that morning. I mean, I've talked to her. She says, no. It was a blue
Hang on.
tarp. And what was it? I would
He
indicate,
looks so offended.
Yeah, he's mad. He just
I would tell you
objects.
that the testimony you're going to hear is inconsistent with the Attorney General.
There you go.
Based on interviews done by people other than me. So
What people?
what I'm telling you is this, that as you sit here and listen, every time there's a witness that takes that witness stand that the state's put up there, you see, you judge the credibility, whether to believe a witness or not believe a
This
witness.
is a bootleg
believe one
Matlock.
witness against many,
I'm not a fan.
many
You
against
get
one.
2 thumbs down from me.
You're
Dick.
going to have to evaluate the testimony you hear from this witness stand with a critical eye.
He gives worse
Critical eye.
Miss America
mean, if
answers
you've
than
got
I do.
Uncontested
Sheesh.
scientific evidence, you accept it. I've got no problem with that. These cell phone records he keeps talking about, I would say to you, are not necessarily accurate to the extent they're reliable.
Yes,
will
Diane.
also
Yes.
tell you
Well,
that
I
there's
mean,
gonna be a
I
bunch
don't
of
want.
people
I can't
that
say what
I
he's
will
doing. I know
have
he's
been
sitting
promised
behind him.
something
And I guess it's the
or
appearance
threatened
of
with
supporting.
something that may take the witness stand and say something. But I tell you what they're not going to say.
Amen,
They're not going to say
Molson.
they saw him kill him.
Amen.
They're not going to say that they were involved in it. They're not going to say anything that would give you a comfort level in their testimony.
What you
That's
doing
all
with your
you've
hand in your
indicated.
pocket? You
If you
looking
would
for
follow the law.
the ring
And I
of
say
power?
this
You gonna slip it on and
one
become
last time.
invisible? He does look a little bit like
He didn't do it. He didn't kill Butcher, his son and wife. And you need
Bilbo
to put from your
Baggins
mind
just
any
there a
suggestion
second ago.
that he did.
Did he just say he didn't kill Butcher?
He didn't kill
You've
Butcher,
been
correct?
picked because you said you could be fair.
Is that a word?
You were
No.
picked because you said you could follow the law.
It's 2
You were
words
picked
mashed
because
together in a terrible
Alex
Matlock
Murdaugh
moment.
believes that you can be fair. Now, if during this process over the next however long we're here,
You don't even know how long you're going to be there.
I
Dick?
say something or do something, which most certainly based on my career, I will do,
What are you
irritate you.
rubbing yourself?
Angers
This is too much for me.
Sometimes I'm a little rough. Don't hold that against Alex. Hold it against me. If I say something that offends you in some way, don't hold that against Alex. Hold it against me. Remember, as you sit there right now, in your mind,
Were you patting your lapel
he
down for snacks?
didn't do it.
Did you snatch
He
some? Did you
is
stash some for
innocent.
snacks for later?
He
He.
would require a
Huh?
verdict of not guilty from you.
Oh Jesus, this is
That's the
terrible,
law.
sir. It's not
That's
well.
your oath. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to send you to the jury room for a break while I discuss scheduling with everyone. Please do not discuss the case. As I mentioned to you earlier, you're
All
not
right. Well,
allowed
we're
to
not the
discuss the case.
jury, so we can discuss it. But thank you, Your Honor. So there y'all go. Bilbo Baggins is batting for the defense. Tomorrow I'll have a name for the Attorney General. Look, when he had his hand in his pocket, I'm not even lying. It's like that time. It was for reals. It was like
He
the
looks like
Hobbit
that
and
crazy-eyed
Unexpected.
guy from Harry Potter.
Mad-Eye Moody.
But with white hair.
See, to me, he looks like Bilbo Baggins when Bilbo is playing with Gollum, and he says, "What have I got in my pocket?" And then Gollum is all, "I don't know. What has it got in its pockets is precious." So that's what it reminded me of when he was fooling around, you know? I think it's because my son sent me a meme yesterday that said it was Gandalf, you know, whenever Bilbo Baggins gets all freaked out because Gandalf wants the ring. And it says when your toddler gets angry at you when you try to open up their fruit snacks, and it's that point where Gandalf gets real big and he says, "I'm not trying to rob you," and then he shrinks back down to normal. "I'm trying to help you." And
You'd always be robbing at least one of those fruit snacks.
Listen, there's a toll. I used to tell my kids that all the time. "Hey, bring me that Halloween candy. There's a toll. I got to keep you safe."
I tell them
protection comes at a price.
Poison. Yeah, I gotta test it for poison first.
I used to teach my kids that protection comes at a price.
Yeah. That's what my dad used to say to me too. He's like, "It might be poison. I need to try it first." And he would always say, "It might be poison. I need to try one." I'm like,
Oh my God, I was an extortionist. Protection comes at a price. I taught my kids how to survive if they wanted to be. I don't even know. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Oh, my kid is a wheeler and a dealer. He's constantly making business deals with adults.
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. Well, so there you all go. That is the opening. Tomorrow they're gonna, I think, if they get the audio. Well, no, he said he was gonna personally find a solution for this audio. The guy from the Attorney General's office said, his name escapes me right now, and I don't have a nickname for him yet. Tomorrow I will. But they're gonna start with the officers who arrived on the scene. So we'll see body cam footage, which you know that I love.
That'll be a good one.
So I was thinking about it, and I think it's better if I don't stream during the day. First of all, I'm never going to get that video finished if I stream during the day, which is actually a good excuse, but I need to finish it. And also, you never know what's going to happen in a trial, and like the day could start out with really interesting testimony, and then after about 30 or 45 minutes, some not as interesting testimony. So
I hate when that happens. You get like someone really good, and then they put like the most boring person on the stand after that, and you're like, why are we even listening to this?
Yes. Like, who was going to follow up after the rebuttal, like from what was it, the psychologist or whatever in the Johnny Depp trial for Amber Heard, the one that looked like the eagle from the Muppet Show.
You mean the other not the pretty one, but the other?
No. Yeah.
The other one who was Amber Heard's psychiatrist.
Yeah, he looked like the eagle thingy, the guy that used to do the news on the Muppet Show. You're younger than I am. I don't remember
I know
that.
who you're talking about.
Yes, yep. Corky. And who was going to follow? Who could follow that up? When he said to the judge, "Do I have to answer that?" Like, yeah, who's following that up? Oh, Molson, I did give a little update. So Monday, Olivia and Elizabeth go to
the hospital and talk to the transplant coordinator. That's on Monday, and they don't know if, excuse me, I'm sorry, if she's going to have her stem cell transplant in Texas or in Cincinnati, Ohio. But before she even gets the transplant, she has to have either radiation or chemotherapy. Elizabeth couldn't remember, but she'll, they're going on Monday. She'll give me all the details then. And I'm just worried about it because obviously, and then they have to give her, something that completely makes her have no immune system so she doesn't reject the stem cell transplant. And I hope that they just can stay in Texas, because I really don't want Olivia to be on a plane and then have to go through all that, because I'm worried that, she'll get a little cootie being in the airport or on the airplane or whatever. It just makes me nervous, but I know she's going to do okay. And I know you guys are all sending prayers and good juju, and I know that helps. So I'm just nervous, but I know everything's going to be okay. I know everything is going to be okay. Yeah. So,
Well, I'm hoping for the best for everything. Keep us updated.
I will. Thank you, Kate. Thank you guys all. So that's what's going on. So anyway, I think what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'll stream tomorrow night and just bring you the highlight reel. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is be extra cool about it and actually, don't you do what I was doing. I'm going to actually write the timestamps down so that the searching is much more efficient, because I have a feeling
Smart.
tomorrow's going to be a good day. So, yeah.
Do you know what time it starts? Are they starting early tomorrow?
9:30, babe.
All right, because they start at they didn't get going till 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Then there was a long wait, and then they didn't actually do anything till almost 2.
Right. Well, yeah, because I think they were doing some of the stuff that the jury was the questioning takes place in the judge's chambers. So we could not hear it or whatever, So for us it was like nothing. It was boring. But now the trial is here. Aiden Fucci's trial, our jury selection starts February 6th. And I've been thinking about this. I actually think that one might be streamed.
Isn't the Orrin Orson West case coming up really soon too?
Yes. I think Allie told me when it was. I'll have to look again. I'll Google
it's
again.
Really soon. I'm pretty sure.
I feel like what's today? I think it's tomorrow. Honestly, I think Allie told me the 26th. So we'll be keeping an eye out on both of these trials. But I think it's interesting. Really what we should do is alternate, because it's watching Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Those are two people who not really financially evenly matched, but she had a little bit of money, she had more than we do, us regular folks, right? And Alex Murdaugh definitely has more than, say, an Anthony Tote, and I want to show you guys really what money can buy. Doesn't mean you'll get off, but just the arguments and the resources that they will be able to bring in. So be interesting. And I do want to keep up with the West trial too, because obviously. So yeah, we'll be keeping up with all those. We've got a lot of cases that are coming up.
I think the Stout one might be happening. Do you know if she's competent or not?
She's competent. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I thought so. I think that's coming up soon.
Yeah, Lori tries to Molson. Look at Molson. He's so sweet. I do have a birthday coming up on Saturday. I'm going to be 46 years old. Old.
Mm-mm.
Yep. 46. So
that's not old.
I I don't feel old. Like emotionally, I feel at least old enough to be able to buy alcohol legally. So like 21, 12 on a bad day, but whatever. I don't feel old. But yeah, I'm curious. We got a ton of these cases coming up, and oh, I know what I was going to say. Leticia is competent, even though Lori. I don't. I got to say, I think I think there's a good chance. Um, that thank you guys. I think there's a good chance that the judge may end up severing Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell's trials based on the last hearing, because what had happened was Molson, because what had happened was the defense, Chad's defense, has requested this specific piece of evidence. They want an opportunity to have it tested. And while they still don't have it, they asked for it months ago. And then they found out that the defense found out that the state lab has recovered potential. Oh, thank you, Heather, whatever. Thank you so much. Birthday burrito. Are you 46 also, Corky? Awesome. So they found this this evidence that may be potentially DNA. We don't know if it's inculpatory or exculpatory. We'll have to play their audio. I'll play the audio for you guys and let you hear it. But bottom line is, this specific piece of evidence, which I don't know what it is, because the attorney was very vague about it, Chad's attorney, but he's like, look, if the state has had it all this time and they're still examining it after 5 or 6 months, and you guys want me to be ready for trial in April, right?
Mhm.
And they've had, that's not enough time for me to get the evidence, get my expert to analyze it, come up with the report of the, whatever the results are. On top of it, then I've got to turn that report over to the prosecutor, because hey, Shamita, don't Shamita. Shamita and I discovered that I'm a whole teenager older than her. I'm 13 years older than Shamita. I thought I was 20 years older than her, but I'm only 13. So, anyway, he's like, that's not right. That's not fair. And, so then the judge also said, and oh, by the way, Mr. Daybell over here has waived his right to a speedy trial, but, Ovallo over here has not. She didn't
Mhm.
waive her right. So I would not be surprised if there's a severance. Brace
Yeah,
yourselves
I
for
wouldn't
it,
either.
because the judge
Also,
is not going to want to violate Chad's civil rights.
I think they're gonna try and pin it all on Alex, but I feel like Chad. Well, I think Alex did do the dirty work, but I think Chad was the mastermind, and I think Chad killed his own wife.
So I think that Lori was the mastermind behind all of this, to be honest with
Well,
you. I think she pulled.
I think they
And
both like. I feel like they both equally were, but I feel like
oh no, I
I feel
don't
like
think.
he
No, I
he
disagree. Go
he
ahead.
like messed up her brain with that like light and dark crap and telling her kids were like,
I
you know.
think that came from her. I actually think that it was part of Lori's manipulation to build that up and encourage that in Chad. That's what I think. I
Maybe.
think it
I
was
mean, I
part of
do see
her.
her as like the stronger of the two. I see
Mhm.
like even though Chad tries to like present himself as like a confident guy, he comes off very insecure to me.
Well,
But
yeah, and when
Lori comes off very manipulative and very like she knows what the hell's going on, and you know.
Lori is the kind of manipulator that will manipulate you so much that you think you actually believe you're the one that came up with the idea. when
Yeah.
really it was her idea all along. That's what I think happened. But we'll find out. Now, this is what I think they should do. If they have to sever the trials, I think they should do the same thing with Lori and Chad as they did with Alex and Derek King and Ricky Chavez, where Ricky was tried first because that's a messed up case, but I'm not going to go into it. But he was tried first, and then Alex and Derek were tried together at the same time. And what the judge did was seal the verdicts and read the verdicts from both trials at the same time. So nobody knew what the verdicts were until both trials had taken place. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's what they should do. I think if they're going to sever the trial, they should like seal the verdicts and read them together if they have to sever the trials. That's what I think.
Do you think Lori had a relationship with her brother?
Not in that way, but I do think that she manipulated she manipulated him, yes.
I think they had a relationship in that way. I
Oh,
think
you do?
yeah. Well, his ex-wife.
Yeah, look at you. Okay. Yeah, like what the fuck, Jen Lou? What's wrong with you? Yeah.
His ex-wife said they were like weird, and he would like pick her up and wrap her legs around him and like bounce her up and down and grab her boobs. And he was like, he would take off for like a week at a time, according to the brother, and go to like Thailand to like the red light district.
Oh,
Just like
Jesus.
he had a bunch of wives over there.
Oh, my.
So I could see like her like trying to manipulate him in that way. I wouldn't put it past her.
I wouldn't put it past her. I don't know. I will say this, that they did have some several moments and stories that make me very, very, very uncomfortable. There's something uncomfortable. Let's be honest. Let's just say what it is. There's something that uncomfortable about everybody in that group, except for the victims, Chad's wife, JJ, and Tylee. Everybody else, Melanie, we call her She Bangs. That's Melanie's name over here. And this is the thing. They all make me uncomfortable, but what I am most really looking forward to, and at first I was thinking that severing their trials would be a bad idea, but now I'm thinking it actually might be a good idea because we get to see Melanie testify and stab them both in the back twice instead of all at once. You know what I mean? Like we get to watch her do it to Chad and then to Lori, or really because Lori didn't wait for right. So really to Lori.
And at least the questions can be very like in Chad's aimed towards him and Lori's aimed towards her. So it doesn't kind of get like lost in translation together. Like we get more details that way, I feel like.
Just a second, ma'am. I'm almost done. And then I will open the door for you. Don't you make that jump. It's way too far. Hello, Alice. I think that, yes, I think that now I might be a proponent. I might be pro severing the trial so we can watch Melanie, She Bangs Gibbs stick it to him twice. I'm so petty. She's a liar too. And unfortunately, I mean, I think Melanie knew things and she just didn't. I know Molson, no date on Sheila Keene. There, it shouldn't be too much longer. I think the last thing I heard was maybe April, but they put Boone off too. Boone isn't until April. So we got a lot of trials coming up, ones that we've all been waiting for and stuff. So the ward is going to be busy covering the trials. And obviously taking care of Alice is also a full-time job because she's super needy right now. Like she wants me to open the store immediately. She's just been up from her nap for 5 whole minutes.
But now it's immediate. Like she's awake and now she wants out. So
Mhm.
she's being obnoxious. But anyway, we're all gonna yeah, I think Tylee was gonna tell too. I think Tylee was I think after Charles, there's some, when you go back, bless her little heart, and you watch Tylee's interview, you could see that when she was answering things, that she was also putting things together. And I think that, um, you know, I think that Lori is the one who orchestrated it. But what I think she did was she did it by encouraging um, Chad's like light and dark and blah blah blah, his whatever you want to call it, and I think that she then planted seeds. So, but making it where Chad would be the one telling her, rather than she didn't say anything directly. She would like go to him with concerns, but they played on his whole like thought process and theology and all this stuff. And so I think Chad thought that he was calling the shots, but I guarantee you it really was Lori. She is, what's that saying? The man may be the head of the family, but the woman is the neck, and she can make the head turn whatever direction she wants. I think it was like that. But Chad didn't. Chad thought he was the head and the neck. You know what I mean? Like he was
Mhm.
unaware. I do
Yeah.
think, though, being away from Lori, that there's probably some times where Chad has had time to reflect and had like some what the F moments. But I
Yeah.
think that then I think I suspect that's a large part of why Lori is wanted she filed that motion for them to be able to have like a meeting or whatever, because I feel like she needed to get him back under her spell. That it's
Yeah.
been too long, that they can't really like, they obviously, they are sitting there sort of together but not really, and they can't really make eye contact or do any of those things overtly, because they don't want to, draw attention to it in front of the judge and stuff, because they've been told by their attorneys. I think she just, needs to put her, get her claws into him a little bit more. Like her succubus powers are wearing off the longer he goes without
Yeah.
like physically laying eyes on her. And I think that's what the deal is. But,
I mean, obviously, I think she was complete. Like, I think she totally orchestrated killing
mm-hmm,
her own husband,
mm-hmm.
Charles. Like, so I can see, yeah, like she might be the ringleader. But I think Alex actually did the dirty work, but I think she manipulated him to do it.
Agreed. And I think that when it comes to Chad's wife, which her name, I never can. What is her name? I always forget it. Tammy?
Tammy.
No. Is it Tammy? Okay. I never think that Tammy is the right name, but it is evidently. I feel like,
I'm
I
pretty sure
think,
it's Tammy.
oh, we better look. I don't want to be calling her the wrong name. That would be highly unprofessional. I
That's
feel
the
like,
first thing that came to my mind.
I think that she,
Tammy Daybell, yeah.
yeah, I think she, with Tammy, I think what she did was, I think that she played off of Charles's or Chad's, ideology,
Mhm.
and you know, had him convinced that she believed in it, and then so much that then they started, we've had 87 lifetimes together, and we'll be married, we'll be together, because it's not that far fetched. I mean, their
We
religion,
were celestial beings or whatever, and
right?
have to
Well,
be
their
together to save
religion,
the world.
right. So theirs is, they took elements from the Mormon religion. The Mormon religion, when you get married in the Mormon church, you do it at the temple, okay? And not only are you making a covenant between you and your spouse, but you're making it with the church, and you're making it with God. And so much so that you will be together for all of eternity. You're sealed together. They call it being sealed. So
that is a tenet of their faith. So for it's not all that far fetched. It just it's not. It's a lot of people believe in, like I do. I think I've done at least 82 lifetimes. I'm ready to be done.
Oh, I
But
believe in reincarnation, but I don't know about like their like levels of like how you can be a regular person, and then there's like the being that's like special and from God that'll be around. Like they had like 3 different levels of people, and they believed they were like the highest ones, and that they were chosen by God
yeah.
to be around at the end of the world. And like I think like that part, I don't know if I
don't believe in it
I
either,
believe in
but I can.
reincarnation.
Right, but I think I feel like Chad's not even original. He borrowed theologies from, other faiths. He didn't even come up with something completely original, like Heaven's Gate. They're completely original. Even L. Ron Hubbard's belief system is completely original. But
You know what? Like I always thought that was so crazy, but then I was deep in thought one night, and I was like, man, there's got to be like probably like planet like in the galaxy other planets that humans could live on. And then what if they had a star that got really hot and burn out, and they needed to go from like move from one planet to another, but when they restarted on another planet, it was all different resources, so they had to start from scratch and wouldn't have all the technology. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's a good idea.
So
I happen to believe
I
that
could
it's very
see-
possible
I can
that
see
there
that.
are other galaxies, other universes with life forms on them, and I do believe that they visit us. And the reason
Yeah.
why
I do too.
and then they look at our behavior, particularly on the YouTubes, and that's why they don't invite us to any of their cool alien parties, because none of us know how to act right. Or they
But can
happen.
you see if like they used up all their resources on a planet,
Yes,
right? And then they had to move. They would just can only fit so many people and have to start from scratch. So it does kind of make sense, like why you would have to start like you wouldn't be technologically advanced if you came from another planet and had to restart all over again. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. It's a good. Oh, sorry, that's a good point. I think that. But anyway, my point in all of this is I think that I unless I see some very clear and convincing evidence, I watched. I guess I can't say watch because it was only audio, but I saw the way when Dr. B and I when we were live with Benny and we were making fun of the Field of Fire podcast when they had Chad on and Lori was interviewing Chad. It was that tone of voice that she used, the giggling and the girly. She made herself sound like she was dumb and she needed Chad to explain all the things to her. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's her way. She's just extremely manipulative. And the more I watched to me, it was interesting the questions that she asked, and because they were off the wall questions. I mean, she's interviewing somebody that says that they met Jesus and had a long conversation, and she's asking the most ridiculous, stupid, surface ass questions ever. Like, what kind of clothes he wore? What did he look like? Who gives a shit what Jesus looks like? Didn't you get some pearls of wisdom? Like, that's the questions I would be asking. Like, why do we suffer? Why does this happen? Yada, yada. I would be asking the important things, right? What are my chances? Do I need to start getting character witnesses together? Should I start writing my letter of explanation? Do you need some kind of essay, like to get into heaven or whatever? I've done some shit, I know. So, but the questions that she asked were so vapid and what's the word I'm looking for besides vapid? Superficial. Like what kind of sense of humor does Jesus have? Are you kidding me? Sarcastic, clearly. Look at the human race. If Jesus is the Son of God and we're made in Jesus's image and we're all sarcastic or all have sarcasm in our repertoire for humor, hello, that's like I would not even want to know what kind of sense of humor Jesus had. I would be asking the big questions, but whatever.
That's a big question, okay?
What kind of robes does Jesus prefer? Is it, how does he feel about, because isn't there something about not blending fibers or something in the Bible, something about the kind of clothes you should be wearing, like are his robes, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me that's like a nothing question. I would want to know what the meaning of life and shit was. Like, I'd be
Yeah.
asking the deep questions,
Where
not,
do you come from? What's the afterlife like?
Right, exactly.
Is there really a heaven and hell?
Right. How long of a wait am I going to have? Like, how much explanation do you need from me before you're going to let me in them gates? Because I'm
What
not
happens if I'm reincarnated as an ant?
right. Please don't reincarnate me as a foot or like, something, bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be asking important questions, you know? Whatever. But anyway, my point, the most important, not the most, but one of the questions I would ask is about the dinosaurs. I want to know, what is the explanation for that? Okay. So, but she didn't. And it was like, but when she would ask him some of the certain questions that weren't completely vapid, you could almost hear that hamster on the wheel in Chad's brain, like adding to the story, making it extra to impress her, is my whole point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can see that.
yeah. I just thought Vincent's Egyptian cotton 700 thread minimum robes. I do love me some Egyptian cotton. Jesus and I have that in common.
Right?
It breathes well, especially when you get to be a woman of a certain age and you get hot for no reason. They call these things hot. I don't know if you've ever had a hot flash. It's something they're awful. But anyway,
I haven't had one yet, but
well, I used to laugh at my mom.
I sweat in my sleep sometimes when I
That's how it starts.
If something's wrong with me, like if I have an infection or I'm getting a cold or like even the slightest thing, like just if something's off with my body, it's my body's like way of telling me something's wrong,
Mm-hmm.
I'll wake up drenched and I'm like, oh man.
That's how it starts. That's how it starts. It starts with the night sweats. So, me and my mom, my sister and my dad used to make fun of my mom. Like, my dad would come home from work, and now I grew up in North Texas, so there is winter there, and it would be, like 32 or 45 for the high, and he would come in and he would say, why is every fucking fan in this house on at takeoff speed? It's 45 degrees outside. And my mom would be like, because I'm hot. And we all used to just make fun of her. We all used to laugh. And I know my mom is watching me from wherever she is, laughing at me. Yeah, it's funny now, huh? You got jokes now. Where's your jokes? Hot flashes are hilarious, huh? I'm telling you guys, I had one the other day, and I have one of those chest freezers. I know it's not safe because I did watch that episode of Punky Brewster, and I don't know if having it on makes it okay, but I didn't want to take any chances. But seriously, I thought about going and sitting in that thing for a minute because it's hot from the inside out. It's a freaking nightmare, so there you go. That's how I run people out of the chat, menopause talk. But anyway, I guess I'm going to get off of here. I need to get to bed. I got to get up early in the morning. I got stuff to do. Oh. Y'all remember that episode of Punky Brewster when Alan got stuck in the they were playing hide and go seek, and Henry was throwing out a refrigerator and Alan hid in the refrigerator, and they found him and he was not breathing, and Punky and Cherry had to give him CPR. Yeah, I know my mom was like, "Who's laughing now? You got jokes? Where's your jokes? You're hilarious all the other times, huh?" I know she's up there just laughing at me. Oh, 10 years. What? Oh, don't tell me that, Diane. That's too much. I remember that kind of stuff. All those weird, just random ass shows that I used to watch. I was scrolling, speaking of, I was scrolling through YouTube today on the home page, not the subscription page. And somebody had put up um, the growing pains when Carol is dating Sonny, and it's Matthew Perry, and they were drinking and driving and they get into an accident, and they put that whole scene or whatever. And I had totally forgotten about that, but I wasn't even I wasn't even looking at anything growing pains related. It just was one of those things that popped up. Sometimes you'll get those random ass YouTubes and they'll show you like old shows and stuff like that. So anyway, but I think I'm going to get off of here. Thank you, Kate, for coming. It was fun. We'll have to do this again when we get more testimony and they really start the trials really out.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. When are you going live next, babe? Huh?
Probably tomorrow night sometime.
What are you gonna do?
I haven't decided yet. So I kind of so I've been following this case that's local to me, Jennifer Brown, like 20 minutes from me. And there hasn't really been updates, but I've been talking to like a lot of locals who have given, I can't verify the information, but
right.
It's still like, maybe throw out some theories here and there and some stuff about it. So
okay. What time are you gonna do that tomorrow?
Probably not till sometime later because I wait till my kid goes to bed. But
all right, so maybe I'll go live a little earlier than 9, so that I can come over there.
I'll probably go like 9, like 9:30, 9:45. I can go. So
all right, so then I'll go at like 8, and that way then that'll be plenty of enough time for me to like highlight reel, and then we can all go over to yours because I am interested in that case. I think anytime anybody is missing, we have to pay. We need to know so we can.
Well, they found her, but
they did. Okay.
Yeah, they found her, but they haven't really said much about. So they found her, but there's some like weird things that happened. She just started a new business venture with this guy who.
Well, they found her alive and well, or they found her not alive and well.
Not alive.
Okay.
She was buried under steps outside of a warehouse, which is a really strange spot. And I had hubby go up and literally like pull in the parking lot and take pictures of so you could see. It's a weird spot, but
you're gonna have to show us. Now I'm really okay.
And
that's crazy.
But the guy she was a business partner with, they were supposed to open a business in January, but when the reporter went to the business to ask the guy about it, he said that he wasn't renting to them, and where she was found was only like a couple blocks away from his old business before they moved. God. So there. And on the night she went missing, he took her son to his house and sent him to school the next day in the same clothes. And then she never showed up to pick him up from the bus stop. And he claims that he worked it out with her, but a lot of people think that he took him on purpose. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
But.
Yeah, well, we're definitely. I'll share your stream out.
Yeah, so I already did like a rundown, but I might just like go over it again because there's a lot of like locals that I've been talking to who want to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about it and stuff. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. We should. Yes, I'll be over there tomorrow night. I promise.
Well, I will be in your chat too before
All right,
I'll come in
yay.
for yours, and then we'll do mine.
Okay, cool. It's a date.
All right, sounds good.
All
It's a
right.
date.
It's a date. It's a date. All right, you guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Just if you haven't given me a thumbs up, give your girl a thumbs up. Helps out. Get the notifications. Suggests me. Yada yada. Y'all know how YouTube works. All right. I'll talk to everybody later, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. All right.
See you tomorrow.
Bye. Okay. Bye.